Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a video giving my thoughts on a recent casting call for The Walking Dead Season 7. This one's reported by Deadline. It is for a character named Augustus, who sounds a lot like he may be Ezekiel. Cool, so I'll put the link in the description to comicbookresources.com, where you guys can go ahead and read about this casting call for Augustus, who, this is the description for him, is a reoccurring character, African-American character in his 40s, and he's described as flamboyant and wise, nice and weird. He is also a good friend of Paul Jesus Monroe, who appeared in Season 6 of the television series Adaptation. So based on the description, it does sound a lot like Ezekiel. It talks about a little bit of who Ezekiel is, and he first appeared in issue 108. So if we're at issue about 100 now, we're getting pretty close, and they've already covered some other things that are in there that in the television series that were in the comic book series in between that time frame. We also don't know what's happening at Alexandria right now, so they may have had another group of saviors possibly attack that while the others are gone or something. We'll have to see how they use the storyline, where in the comic books Dwight gets captured as he attacks Alexandria, and we haven't really seen that in the television series version. So maybe they'll swap that for somebody else, or maybe they'll scrap it or remix it in some way. So pretty cool, man. So that would mean it should be first half, because if they've got the casting call out for it now, and I believe they're starting filming very soon. I don't have an exact date or anything official. I've heard conflicting different people say a couple days. People say, a couple weeks into May. Around this time, the point is around this time of year, they're starting filming for Season 7, which is pretty damn cool. And hopefully, we can get some spoiler news within about a month or two, some info, and then, of course, the trailer will be hitting in July. So check out the article if you guys haven't seen it yet. If you don't know who Ezekiel is, I've done lots of videos at this point in the channel describing who he is. If you go to the channel, you type in Ezekiel with the search tool, you'll find it. But I'll link to one in the description if you guys want to find out more about who Ezekiel is. He's basically the leader of the kingdom, which is probably the community that Carol and Morgan are headed towards most likely. But it's not, it's not 100% ever. You never know 100%, but it looks like it. So it should be pretty cool, and we'll see what they got to do with the tiger, because that should be fun to see what they, how they adapt that and what they decide to do for that. I hope they use a real life tiger, so we'll see. And we also have a bunch of questions from you guys for The Walking Dead. Try to keep this one specifically to Walking Dead, because I haven't done like a Q&A for a little bit for The Walking Dead. This year's a lot different than it's been the past 4 years. Because with this year we have Fear on, and then of course there's Game of Thrones as well. So I've been doing a lot of videos on both of them on the weekends. So it's been a couple days since I've done a Walking Dead Q&A. But I still want to mix them in, and I still want to do them throughout the summer. So just so you guys know, still feel free to send me questions for Walking Dead Season 7, and I'll continue to make the videos on it. It's just that as we're going and stuff, the other shows will be reviewing in between and stuff like that. You guys know how it is. The first one for this one's from Kenneth Christian, and he says, I think this is a fake. Now, this was after I had done the confirmed video. He said that he thinks that the second movie that Stephen Yeun is doing is fake, and it might be to throw us off because the plot sounds ridiculous. And I do agree with him that the plot does sound absolutely ridiculous, but as far as I can tell on IMDb and as being reported, it sounds legit, dude. Some of the ideas that you might think of for like a movie and stuff sound absolutely crazy. I think Hollywood has long since run out of like original ideas. Pretty much everything at this point has been done probably 100 times, and it's just kind of different takes on things and different ways of doing things, because everything's been pretty much covered at this point. And to mention about the video too, like I said in the video, I mean, I think definitely that Stephen Yeun, Glenn is still the top for me anyway, he's the most likely character to be killed off, I think, in the finale and going into season 7 premiere. I still feel that way. Other people feel different, and we're going to do the death, like case 4 videos where we kind of go over each character, make a case for each, because it's going to be, we got lots of time this summer, so might as well do it. I did the one for Abraham, going to do one for Eugene, probably Darrell, and the rest. It's fun to do. It's fun to speculate on. So, but yeah, like I said in the video, I used a question mark on purpose for confirmed, but I do think, like, I was already thinking, because of the other movie role. Keep in mind, Stephen Yeun, he hasn't done too much where people say it's pronounced Yeun, so sorry if my pronunciation is wrong of his last name. I've heard him called Yeun before, so okay, Yeun, I guess. He hasn't really done that much most seasons. Like, he hasn't had too many other roles. People say, well, you got Norman Reedus, he's worked on other stuff. You have Laurie Cohen, she's in The Boy and different movies and that. So, and that is true. It's true, but I think every time someone does get cast as a lead in a big movie or in a TV series, it is something that should make us consider. Because if you got to see 999 and you watch the movie, you know how that turned out for Norman Reedus, and I can't say too much more about it without spoiling the movie. But basically, he's barely in it. Like, I mean, he seemed like he's supposed to be a lead in it, and he's barely in the movie. So, and that was being filmed in like the same location as Walking Dead. So it's got to be tough for them to kind of do more than just The Walking Dead, maybe like 1 or 2 other projects. But for me, it just seems uncharacteristic of him, and it seems like, yeah, it just adds to it for me, adds to the argument, and makes it feel like he's definitely most likely right now. Next question is from Rod Lops, and he says, how would you feel if Negan kills off a weaker character like Aaron, Rosita, Sasha, or another character like that? So I briefly touched on this in the Abraham video. And that is that if he kills off a weaker character, I just feel like it will be such a letdown, because if it's someone like Aaron, Rosita, and Sasha, I mean, they're pretty big characters at this point, but Aaron's fairly new. If it's someone like him, I would be pretty disappointed, because they made us wait the entire summer to find out, and then if it's not even like an A-lister, would I even call him a B-lister? I guess he's a B-lister at this point. Maybe like a B- or something lister, if you want to look at it that way. So I'd be a little disappointed if it was any of them, to be honest. I think it should be a big character one way or another. Abraham's big enough, Darrell, Glenn, these types of characters are your A-listers. Next one's from KlaymenDel, and he says, hey Trev, do you think that the Walking Dead comic book series would get a second adaptation many years after the TV show's ending, or is one TV show going to be enough? That's a great question right there. This is something that we've actually been talking about with Game of Thrones in the channel, because Game of Thrones has only got 2 seasons left, and it seems like HBO is saying goodbye to a huge cash cow. With AMC, it would be exactly the same scenario. If they eventually end The Walking Dead, they're going to be saying goodbye to their biggest cash cow show they've ever had. So you got to think that they wouldn't want to let that go easily. And as we're seeing already, they're trying to capitalize on it even more with Fear of the Walking Dead as a companion series. So I think it's pretty easy to say. I think they'll take liberties with it and do as much as they can. Now, if the initial cast eventually decides that they're done and they've had enough of it and they have to stop it for like a couple years or something, and then come back with some kind of spin-off or second kind of version, maybe with other characters, or maybe have Chandler Riggs take over as lead or something. With The Walking Dead, I think it translates nicely, because you can always do it a little different than the comics. You can always kill off somebody if they want off the show, like Dale, and then you can continue with other characters. Because they have such a big roster now, they've really done a good job in The Walking Dead earlier on in the series, adding on to the roster and making it so that we have a lot of different point of view characters now. We don't just have Rick, we have episodes that could have Carol and Morgan by themselves with JSS. You have Darrell with Always Accountable that can have his own kind of episode. And, have some really great episodes without having Rick in it all the time. And so I think we're going to see more and more of that as we go on through, and it'll just become, it's more, it's good for the show, because then you don't have to just rely on one actor or one person. If one of them decides, okay, I've done this for 10 years, which is respectable. We can't be mad and be like, if Andrew Lincoln decides after season 10 or something that he's had enough, or season 8 or something that he's done, he's spent enough of his career doing it. then we can't fault him for that if he decides that. But if they have a lot of different core characters as point of view characters, then they could do something like kill him off earlier than they wanted to or something, and or just kind of have him so he's not in every single episode all the time. It gives them more options when they have more kind of lead characters in there too. So it's good. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens with the TV series, and if it does get ended at some point, I would not be surprised to see them do an additional series after, just like with Fear, because I think it's like AMC's got the license for Walking Dead now. They've got the license for that universe, and they're going to milk it as much as they can. I mean, even look at the Ride Show with Norman Reedus. Like, what is that? That is just, as far as I can tell from the commercial, we'll see. I shouldn't judge it because it's not out yet, but it seems like it's just kind of a thrown together reality type thing for people to spend more time with Norman Reedus because they love Darrell from The Walking Dead so much. Next one's from SomeFatGuy _1. He says, "Hey Trev, I love your videos so much. I have a Q&A question. Do you think that Morgan or Carol would be more fit to be leader of the kingdom in the future?" That would be cool to see down the road, SomeFatGuy. But as we've talked about in this intro here, it does sound like they're going to still cast him. And again, having Morgan, having Carol, having different point of view characters like that could become, that are A-list characters that could become like even leads for the show if Rick is gone at some point. It works out really, really well. I think either of them could be, but Ezekiel should already be there anyway. Next one's from Star Shoddy, and he says, "Hey Trev, so I've been thinking about the tiger coming to season 7. I think they might not be able to do that because of the zombie makeup scaring the tiger. What do you think?" And I think, they better keep a taser or something, or like some tranquilizer, something to control the tiger, because if the zombies freak the tiger out, it could be a big, big problem. Plus, if they start looking like food and someone forgot to feed the tiger, could be a bad time. So you got to be careful with that, that's for sure. But it'll probably be fine, to be honest. It's not that big of a deal. Next one's from Alto Kingman, and he says, "Hey Trev, Q&A question. So in the comics during All Out War, Rick's group and all the communities suffered heavy losses. Do you think in the TV show it's possible that during All Out War, Rick might lose a few people from his main group? The people he came to Alexandria with. I'm thinking 2 to 4 characters," he says. I was thinking the losses could be Sasha, Rosita instead of Abraham, Darrell, and Tara. I know that's a lot of big characters, but in the comics, that's how it was. The only main characters left that came to Alexandria with Rick that are still alive are so few. Thanks, Trev. Keep up the good work. And yeah, that's a good point. I would probably go with like 2 or 3 or something like that. But they can kind of make it seem like more by adding in more sort of characters that they build up beforehand. Like the Denise death, that's a good example of a character where, a season ago or 2 seasons ago, she doesn't even really exist, and they bring her in and it still feels like a huge death. And they could use that with Tara if they switch out maybe Holly in the comic books for Tara or something. I think that would fit well. Rosita, well, something like that, or Sasha maybe. They've got a lot of different options, a lot of different things they could do. Darrell, at this point, I'm almost thinking Darrell might just survive straight through, just kind of like Rick as well too. Unless it's possible he could be the Negan death, but at this point, I feel like he'll probably be fine at this point because he got shot and everything. But yeah, we should see a couple deaths in All Out War for sure, definitely. I mean, we usually do, but there should be even more. So maybe you're right, maybe more like 3 or 4 or something. Next one's from Cheeseburger Dog Rules, and he left a breakdown of what he thinks is going to be, the breakdown of the episodes compared to the comic book series, which I touched on in a video last week in the Explained video. He says the premiere, he thinks it's going to finish up with the Negan thing before the credits, have Rick's group go to the hilltop and beat up Jesus and Gregory. That's what he thinks is going to happen for the premiere. Second episode, he's predicting Morgan and Carol will be at the kingdom, and then it'll focus entirely on them. And that's not a bad prediction. I could see them doing something like that. Third episode be a Negan episode showing Dwight getting his face burned, other side of 6/16, or I think he means like maybe in between the time when Dwight was gone from Always Accountable and when he came back. Carl at the Sanctuary would be 7:04. Good. I like that. That's a good prediction. Negan drops Carl off at Alexandria, 7:05, and kills somebody. 7:06, Rick goes and meets Ezekiel, starts planning war. 7:07, filler. 7:08, filler. And at the end, Rick and Negan declare war. Something like that. It's pretty fast-paced, but, I like this. 7:09 to 7:16, all-out war. And at the end, he's predicting Abraham dies when all-out war ends. So, legit prediction, man. We'll see if you're right about the Abraham. That's a pretty big one with the Abraham one. If you're right about that, this far out, you can message me afterwards and I'll give you an action figure or something. We'll talk about it if that happens. That is if I remember. You'll have to remind me. Next one's from Dragoon Galaxy, and he says, you didn't say anything about Daryl and Dwight, which could be the mid-season finale, and that's not in the comics. And I like that. That's why I added this. I was like, yeah, that would make for a great mid-season finale, because he's right, too, that the Daryl-Dwight kind of rivalry is new. It's a new kind of, it's not filler. Again, someone corrected me last Q&A. It's not really like crap in turn. It's just like it's added into the series. It's new content, which is great. And yeah, I could definitely see that. That would be a great mid-season finale. And I really hope Darrell does get his revenge on Dwight, which is why I don't really think that both. We've always kind of felt, and people have been talking about this on the channel for like 4 years now in comments, and I've talked about it too. And originally I got this from you guys, because you guys mentioned, you're like, hey Trev, Daryl and Dwight are so similar. Can you really see the show having them both together surviving long term? And maybe they will do that, but I like this rivalry thing, and I think that you guys might be right. The people who talked about this 4 years ago, who commented on this, that one of them will probably be killed because they are so similar. You can only really have one guy with a crossbow, one way or another. Otherwise, it's like some kind of copy thing, and it's a little weird. Next one's from the Haviferall. And he says, hey, Trev, in the episode, do you think Negan will shave that shit? And then we'll do one more after this one. So, do I think Negan's actually going to shave? Yeah, I think so. That'd be funny. And I liked how they worked that in. That was pretty funny with Abraham, because he's got this huge, whatever that is, whatever kind of growth that is. I can't grow facial hair like barely at all. Like I get a little bit, but not too much. So I just shave it all. So forget it. It's not worth it. Tommy Moore says, this will be the last one for today's Q&A. Carl is so much more badass in the comics. And absolutely, dude, I agree with you 100%. There's no way around it. He's much more badass in the comics. It's not even close. And I think maybe that's something that definitely in season 7 they should address and they should kind of fix, because I feel like he doesn't feel at all the same. So we got to see some really dark stuff from him coming up for sure. At least for it to match. Otherwise, it feels like the versions are so different. It's kind of like Carol or something, a TV series to comics. Anyway, that'll be it for today's Q&A. Keep sending me your guys' questions for another one. To probably do another one in a couple days. Consistent videos as usual. I did a whole bunch this weekend if you guys missed any. So, you can go back and check. I guarantee. I don't really expect people to watch every single video I do. That's kind of something. It's like I do so many. I can't expect that. But I appreciate you guys watching. And, thanks for the questions. Thanks for commenting. And thanks for all the support, guys. If you want to continue to support, please thumb up the video. You can also share and favorite. And if you're new and you want to subscribe, you can subscribe at the bottom left. That's it for this one today. I'll see you guys again probably tomorrow. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. See you guys.